Hello everybody, my name is Isabella and welcome to my channel, Between the Pages. As y'all can see, I have my co-host right here. Her name is Layla. Would you like to say something, Layla? Thank you very much. As y'all can see, I have a Chronicles of Narnia sweatshirt. I don't think y'all can see it that well. It is so cute. My best friend bought it for me for Christmas or my birthday this past year, I think. And I love it so much. Now, the things on this sweatshirt does center around the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So it is basically a crime that I did not wear it during the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe book review. That would have been absolutely amazing. But I'm gonna make up for it for trying to wear it in like every review from here on out. Maybe I might not for every single one, but I'm gonna try. So yeah, it is so cute. Love my best friend. She the best gift giver in my opinion. So, um, also drinking coconut Red Bull. I love these things. I feel like y'all see me always drinking an Alani, but I feel that way because I filmed some of the plot summaries already, but they haven't been uploaded yet because I want to do the review of all the books, if that makes sense. So I feel like y'all see me drinking Alani in like almost every video, and really y'all haven't. Like you've only seen me in like maybe two of them drinking an Alani. But before I got on an Alani kick, which is really recent, like right before my first video was uploaded, I was a Red Bull girly through and through. I still drink them because Alani's are more expensive than these, I think. Actually, they might end up being the same amount. I'm gonna have to look into that. But yeah, Red Bull girly through and through. What's wrong, baby? You wanna go outside? She went. Hold on a moment. I need to go take her outside. Yeah, so I'm a Red Bull girly through and through. Still love them, but I just recently got on an Alani kick because I realized that I love them. At first, I did not like them; they were too strong for me. And now, like 2 years later, I love them. So yeah, love Red Bulls. That's really all that I drink as far as energy drinks and Alani's now. Anyways, let's get into the video. It's already been 3 minutes before I edit this. So yeah, today I'm reviewing The Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. This is the third book chronologically in the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I'll get into it a little bit later at the end, but I was so excited to read this book because I couldn't remember anything from it, and I was just very intrigued. So yeah, I'll get into it later, but so excited. Um, so my particular copy is 217 pages and 15 chapters. I do realize that I have a very old copy, and they tried to change the font size so all the books were about the same size. So it will be different with a different set or a different copy. So yeah, for the summary, because I don't believe that's a spoiler. The Horse and His Boy is a stirring and dramatic fantasy story that finds a young boy named Shasta on the run from his homeland with the talking horse, Bree. When the pair discover a deadly plot by the Calormen people to conquer the land of Narnia, the race is on to warn the inhabitants of the impending danger and to rescue them from certain death. The last two reviews, the summaries were amazing, and this is not a bad summary, but I feel like it's not as like colorful with the language, but still amazing summary. This would make me very much want to read the book if I didn't know anything about the Chronicles of Narnia. So yeah, between the plot at the very beginning of the book, it does mention that Shasta's father is kind of abusive, and it doesn't go into detail. It just says that like if he was in a bad mood, he might like be really mean to him and like slap him or something. But it doesn't like go into terrible detail. I just know some people who have gone through that, it can be kind of triggering to hear about any kind of abuse. That's why I want to mention that. Like, it didn't go into detail, but I know books that go into really bad detail about abuse, it is a trigger warning. And although this doesn't go into detail, I did want to mention it because I know some people, it can be a trigger just mentioning it if like they've gone through that. So that's why I wrote that down. Shasta's father also mentions gods because he's from Calormen, and Calormen does not serve like the true God. It does use like the little G God, but it can be confusing for young children. So that's kind of a warning more to parents that are recommending this series for your kids. If you're gonna read it to them or whatever. But in the book, it makes it apparent that that's not the real God. It's just the one that Corman believes in. Once again, talking animals, magic, all that stuff. If y'all watch the other reviews. I really went into depth about it in The Magician's Nephew because that was my first review of this series. So if you want more in depth, like I kind of list out some of the talking creatures and some of the magic, go to that one. And I think I mentioned a lot of it in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe too. I just don't want to repeat the same thing in every single video. So yeah, there's talking creatures, mythical creatures, and there's magic. It's kind of apparent if you read the summaries of the books, and it uses the A word once, I think. That is the same for like a mule or your bottom, how we use it now. I'm gonna be honest, at this point I don't know the context. In The Magician's Nephew, it did seem like Polly was calling Diggory like he was being stubborn, so it did seem like she was using that as like the word for a mule. But at this point, I don't know. It just has that word only once, maybe twice, from what I can remember. I didn't write the exact amount of time, so I think it was just once. But if y'all have read the other books, seen the other reviews, it's happened before. So that's nothing new either. Now, in the second half of the book, we do meet a character called the Hermit of the Southern March, and this was kind of odd, but the way that we learned the events of some things is that he has a little pool in his little sanctuary, the place that he lives, and he can see the events that are happening at that moment in time. So, in my opinion, it was not like witchcrafty crystal ball. It was just a means of C.S. Lewis telling us what went on when the main characters couldn't see themselves what was going on. I understand that can be a little odd because it does kind of mirror a crystal ball um that like is often used in things like witchcraft, but I feel like with that stuff they try to like see the future or whatever. This he could only see things that were happening in the present. So that it was a little weird to me, but I didn't feel like convicted about it or anything. It was just another form of magic or whatever that like what is used in this series. But I completely understand if that kind of throws somebody off. Because it can be seen as weird. Like when I first read it, I was like, okay, not the best. It did remind me of a crystal ball, and trying to like see the future, but he can't see the future. He can only see what is happening at that moment somewhere else in this world. So there's that. Unless I forgot to write something down, I'm pretty sure that's it as far as between the plot. So, for my review, like I said earlier, I was so excited, so intrigued to read this book because I couldn't remember anything from it. And in the plot summary, which y'all won't see for like a month, um, if you're watching this video like as soon as it comes out, but in the plot summary, I kind of go into which scene particularly that I remember, and I only like prior to reading this book, I only remembered one scene, and I think I remembered it from listening to the CDs, not from reading the book. So it's like my memory from this book was completely wiped after I read it the first time. But then Grace Lee told me that it was her favorite book out of the series. So I was very intrigued to start reading it. And as I read it, some of the events did actually most of the events did come back to my mind and I remembered reading them and listening to them. Um so yeah, this one, once again, a 5-star for me because the whole series is a 5-star read. Um However, I did like it more than The Magician's Nephew, but I think I still liked The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe more. So if I were to rank them so far, it would be The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, and then The Magician's Nephew. Um, so the language in it may be a bit harder to understand for really young children when the royals talk. There is a scene where the king of Calormen and his son and his like great great councilman, like greatest councilman. There is a name for him, but I'm not going to get into it. Where they're all talking, and the language is very like royalty. I could compare it to the language that like lawyers use in the courtroom. You can still follow along, especially if you're older. You still get the idea of what they're saying, but for really young children, it might be a little hard for them to explain, and you might have to explain basically what's going on. Um, to them after they read or they listen to that scene because it can get a little confusing. when the royals are talking, but there's only really one scene that's like that. But yeah, it's still very appropriate for children if you take into account what I said between the plot. Still very appropriate for children, easy-ish to read. Um, Once again, it was written around the 1950s. The language is a little bit older than the typical language that we talk in today. So if your child can understand it, they can read it. Like, it is appropriate for kids, other than if a parent has a particular problem with something that I mentioned in the between the plot. Now, in this one, the writing seemed to be a lot less poetic than some of C.S. Lewis's other books in this series, and I really think because there's so much that happens in this book, and it's one of the longest books in the series, I think, at least so far. I so far I feel like this one was the longest to read. I honestly can't remember. Oh yeah, it took me 4 days to read it. Okay, but that's kind of been the norm so far in this series. Is about 3 to 4 days. Um, but the writing seemed less poetic and flowery, like I've mentioned in the last two reviews. But I really think it's because there's so much that happens. He focused more on the plot rather than their surroundings. He did go into their surroundings and what everything looked like and where they were at, but it felt different somehow. Not in a bad way. I can still tell it was C.S. Lewis writing. It was just less poetic than his other books because there was so much that happened. I just felt like I was just speeding through it because so much happened in such a short book, which all of them are really like that, but it just felt different because he focused less on the flowery language and really kind of went with the plot. And there was a lot more dialogue between characters, things like that. Okay, y'all, I'm sorry for the informality of this. There was a part that I forgot to record for this review and the next one. It's something that I don't think I've put in the last two reviews, but that I wanted to start doing because I really want to make y'all want to read these books. So, although The Chronicles of Narnia is amazing, it's a classic, I'm pretty sure the majority of y'all have probably heard of it. And the summaries alone, in my opinion, make me want to read it, but it might not be the same for some of y'all. So I want to kind of tell y'all a few of the things, but without spoiling it, I think some things that would make y'all want to read it. So The Horse and His Boy, this was such a good book, and really the best parts about it are the parts that mirror the Bible. Um, my friend Graceley, in the plot summary, I sit down and talk to her, and I'll let her go into detail about it. I feel like she's a lot better and a lot smarter than me when it comes to understanding and finding the buried messages, hidden messages of a book. But she told me prior to me reading it that she really liked this one because it was a wonderful allegory of redemption. And I really agree with that. Um, I could see it throughout the book. Um, I really love it. I love how people are brought to Aslan, which I've said in I think one of these that Aslan is kind of a mirroring of God and of Jesus. Which yeah, I think I said it in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And when people encounter Aslan, it's kind of like them coming to God, a sinner coming to God. And I really loved how that is shown in this book. It's obviously been shown in almost all of the other books, but this one was just I don't know, it was so good. And it's so hard to really tell y'all what I loved about it without spoiling anything. But the way that Grace Lee said it was just amazing, and it tied it all together in a neat little package that is just a good allegory for redemption. And yeah, for redemption and for someone coming to Christ. So I really loved it. I think that's it for my review of The Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. Um so yeah, I feel like I was all over the place. I'm sincerely sorry for that. I have not seemed to been able to keep my mind straight today. So yeah. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I can't wait to see y'all in another video. Bye.